going on, guys? JPS back for another video, and today I'm here with Arturo.
It's good.
And we're going to be reacting to 7 ways British and American pubs are very different. This is another Lost in the Pond video. So this guy, he used to live in Britain, but he moved to the United States, and he makes tons of comparison videos between the US and Britain. But pubs, that's a huge difference. I don't really know if we have proper pubs in the United States. We have a lot of Irish pubs that sell fish and chips and stuff, but their authenticity can certainly be debated. When you go to England, the pubs are just, it's like a focal point of the respective community, especially in the smaller towns. So it's a big deal. So do you know much about the pubs in Britain?
No. The main thing I know is like what you were saying before is like they're a big part of the culture.
Yeah.
And that they're a lot better than the ones here.
That's the main point. I take away from that. But anyways, guys, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, consider joining the Patreon. First link in the description for full reactions to British shows and movies. And let's get right into this.
In the US, this varies by state, but there's not a single one in the Union that mandates that pubs close as early as that. Hello, I'm Lawrence, and I'm on a quest to uncover all of the memos that Britain and America lost in the pond, and one of those memos pertains to pubs. Pubs, where would we be without them? A question that's been decisively answered in the hellscape that is 2020. In fact, while we're on the subject of the pandemic, do keep in mind, Uncle Toby, that a lot of what you're about to hear in this video might temporarily not be true. That doesn't mean that it's not ordinarily true, it just means that pubs have had to make a lot of changes on either side of the pond. And the key word there is either. I think before I moved to the United States, I was under the assumption that America didn't have pubs, but specialized instead in bars. But America does have pubs. Sometimes they'll be the kind of pubs that are looking to mimic those in Britain or Ireland. And those ones are easy to spot because they'll say something like Johnny's Irish Pub, or the Elephant and Castle in allusion to Britain's many castles and elephants. But then America does have pubs in its own right, usually called something along the lines of Merv's Tavern. And since I'm now familiar with how pubs operate in both countries, I thought this would be a great opportunity to talk about 7 ways that British and American pubs are very different. So go and order yourself a pint of Foster's or Miller Lite as we order in the first round. The story of my drinking life goes a little bit like this. At the ages of 16 and 17, I could waltz up to the bar of any British pub and order myself an absinthe. And that's not because 16 is the legal drinking age in Britain. It's because A, door security is usually pretty lax, as in there is no door security. And B, I've always looked 4 years older than I am. No, the legal drinking age in Britain is 18, so imagine my surprise on my 18th birthday when me and a few mates went to paint the town red, not literally, that's another story, and I got carded for the first time in my entire life, and the problem was I didn't have any ID with me. Fast forward 9 years, 27 years old, and I've moved to the United States of America. What's the first thing that happens as I enter a pub? I get carded. But then depending on the state, it is not unusual for people that are much older, sometimes 70 years older, to be carded at an American pub.
On the topic of this, my parents, they get so mad when they get carded.
Really?
Well, sometimes they're happy because it's a compliment.
Yeah.
Well, but in reality, I'm like, Dad, your head's bald. It's not a compliment. That the waitress did not think you were under 21. Yeah. It's just a requirement. I think in airports they're required to card, but it's just like, really, like, you see this guy's face.
There's no way.
Yeah.
There's literally no way.
You have to have a costume on or something. But I think he's right about like their door security. I wish we had more lax door security.
Yeah, definitely.
And the person who's manning the pub will often just do it based off of how old you look. Like, I remember my first time going to the UK 2 summers ago with Will. I was, I think I was 19. Will was 18. Mm-hmm. And we didn't get carded a good amount of the time.
Really?
And, we clean shaven, like, we could.
Really?
We look young as hell.
That's crazy.
We got through. So.
Yeah,
only things were like that here.
I feel like here you need some facial hair if you wanna get through, like, low key. Like, that's kind of like, I don't get ID too much. Like, sometimes in DC, like when they're strict with it, and all that. But yeah, I feel like you definitely need some facial hair here. Like, if you're clean shaven here, they're gonna ID your ass.
It's funny you bring that up because I think growing this, whatever this is, goatee or whatever, that was one of the big reasons I actually let it grow out. I was like, hold on, I'm a little older now.
It does.
It's not a big deal anymore now that I'm of age, but
right.
Not long ago.
Trust me, saw this with my own eyes. It happened to Dick Van Dyke. Of course, by then I'd learned my lesson and I did indeed have some ID. Ironically, I get carded a lot less these days, one of the perks of being a YouTube sensation and 38 years old. So nationally, the legal drinking age in the United States is 21, but that hasn't always been the case. In some states, it was even once like Britain, a pub could legally serve somebody who was 18 years or older. In 1969, while Neil and Buzz were landing on the moon, teenagers could legally land themselves a glass of Blue Moon. But only in the states of Louisiana and Neil Armstrong's home state of Ohio. And then something changed. By 1975, the number of 18 states had risen to 23. This was a domino effect following the recent change of the voting age from 21 to 18. The belief being that if somebody's old enough to vote, they're old enough to drink. The problem is, legislators didn't stop to think about what would happen if these two things happened at the same time. By 1983, the numbers plummeted as states moved to increase their drinking age once more to 21. This was seen as a response to an increase in drunk driving incidents. And the domino effect was complete in 1984, when President Ronald Reagan signed into law the National Minimum Drinking Age Act.
This boils my blood, first of all. Don't even get me started on this. I've done a lot of research on this. It pisses me off. Screw Reagan for this, first of all. And second of all, I don't understand why we couldn't have just had all the states go to 18. Like, yes, you have people driving across borders because their home state is 21 and, you know, West Virginia or whatever is 18. Why not just make them all 18?
Yeah.
Just like they did with the voting age.
Yeah. And see how it would have worked out, you know what I'm saying?
Bro, this country, and then you open up an underground economy for underage drinkers that is complete burden on everyone.
Yeah.
The bars themselves, the owners, the people trying to get into the bars. It's just like, really?
Yeah. It's a really weird dynamic.
What world are, like, really?
Yeah. Because like it's like everybody knows that we're underage.
And then you pop over on a flight to Britain and they're so relaxed. Like, they view it like it's literally Dasani. Like, it's not beer, bro.
I didn't know it was that recent though. 1984. Like, I thought it had been happened. I had no idea that, and I didn't know some states were like different with that. That's interesting.
My dad actually told me stories about when he was growing up, and I believe him and his friends, they used to go to New York State because the drinking age was 18.
That's fire.
And yeah, they would drive across border to get there. But again, like I said, there's cons to that because you have to get back home somehow.
Yeah.
There wasn't Uber back then.
Right.
Yeah. So
imagine being Didi for a freaking cross country drive.
For a whole journey. You got to pay the DD.
No,
which outlawed the purchase of alcohol by individuals under the age of 21. In 2020, one or two parental loopholes notwithstanding, the legal drinking age remains 21 in all US states and territories except Puerto Rico and the US Virgin Islands, where it's 18. Pubs, what are they good for? Well, the answer to that question could be different depending on which country you are in. I mean, sure, in both countries, one of the chief aims of pubs is to give customers a place to get pissed until the cows come home. And if you've ever been drinking with me, that happens regularly. But the main difference here lies in their purpose in the middle of the day. In Britain, if we go to the pub in the middle of the day, often this can take on a quiet but social tone. We just go to talk over a pint. In a way, it's like how Americans go and grab a coffee. Why am I saying it like that? One country emerges from this scenario drunk on caffeine, the other drunk on the street. Apart from that, it's the same thing. If you go into the pub in the middle of the day in America, you can usually expect that to be coupled with a sporting event. And that doesn't mean you yourself get drunk and start playing polo. It means you enter a pub that's simultaneously showing about 28 different sports. In order to do that, said pub would need to have a of these.
Comment on that. I think in the United States, a lot of times people justify their day drinking with like a sporting event going on.
Yeah.
If there's no sporting event or game, I think day drinking isn't as common among
100%.
The majority of people.
100%. Because let's be honest, it's a lot more fun to watch when you're drunk. Especially because it gets the emotion stirring. Like, yeah, that shit's tough.
When there's a game, it's just like, it's a green flag for everyone to just get pissed throughout the day.
Yeah, exactly.
And then all like the drinking in public laws, all that crap goes out the window. Like you can do almost anything you want.
Wait, so this is not common in like Europe? Like
no, it is.
TV
Like
screens?
they go crazy over their football teams and
Okay.
they get, but like what he's saying is it's not uncommon either to just go to the pub in the middle of the day with a friend and just have a drink, like one beer. Here, like I feel like if you go to a pub in the middle of the day, it's gonna be dead empty unless there's a sporting event.
Yeah, exactly. Or like some like type of happy hour event. Like if you go like on a Wednesday or something, like at like 1 p.m., it's not gonna.
It's gonna be you talking to the bartender.
Yeah, literally. Like I would feel strange. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I would feel like a degenerate.
That's right. In America, the term sports bar is almost redundant, though I'm finding firsthand the same is not true of the term sports bra. Don't ask. One word, tequila. But the reason that the term sports bar ought to be redundant is that just about every pub and bar in America is worthy of that title. In other words, it's incredibly common to walk into an establishment and be surrounded by television sets. And these television sets don't typically show repeats of happy days, but of the Cubs losing, or at least when I'm around. In British pubs, you will occasionally find a TV, but the emphasis is not on consuming television, but rather on consuming alcohol and the words of your friends. That sounded weird. Earlier in the video, I joked that we ourselves don't play sports while down at the pub, but in either country this isn't strictly true. Of course, in Britain this depends on whether or not you class darts as a sport, especially when you're at the pub because you've got a drink in your hand, which I've just realised is also true of professional darts players. Either way, darts are an incredibly popular sport in British pubs. In American pubs, even though you will occasionally encounter the odd dartboard, sometimes very odd dartboard, they're just not as big a part of the pub-going experience. And when you think about the sentence, drunk people throwing sharp objects, that probably makes sense. I'm often reminded of those stories of American tourists who enter a British pub, sit at a table and wait on a waiter to wait for them. Here's the truth, you could be waiting a long time because unlike the United States, British pubs tend not to employ table service. And this can be a problem, particularly when the pub is heaving in the sense of crowded, not throwing up. You want to make sure you get a seat. I understand that, right? So here's what you do. If you're there in a group, one of you go up to the bar while the rest of you claim the seat. The one at the bar orders all of the drinks and then it's his or her responsibility to carry them to the table. Just don't use the term double fisting. In America, things are different. Even during the Super Bowl, which is not a national dish, you can fully expect to receive table service in most pubs throughout the land. Of course, this could be partially dictated by the tipping culture that exists in America. And fellow Brits, that's not the same thing as fly tipping.
I got a experience about that. It was this past summer. I went into a pub and I sat down at the table. I must have forgotten. And I just sat there for like 10 minutes. I don't know what I was doing, but yeah, you have to go up to the bar and order your drink.
So they won't come with you. They'll just be like, what did this guy do?
Yeah, no, everyone was looking at me and it made me more self-conscious. And I was like, oh, wait. Yeah, there's no wait, because I didn't see any waiters coming.
Yo, that's hilarious.
Embarrassing.
Oh my god.
I was thinking too, we don't really call the pub. Like even if it is an Irish pub, we'll still call it a bar.
Yeah.
Like they're almost always bar and then you have nightclub, of course.
Yeah, no one says pub.
Yeah.
And I'll notice, I remember we went to DC for your birthday. Like there was this one club we went to and it said sports bar and it was nothing like a sports bar. Like it was literally like just straight like club vibes.
Yeah.
And I was like, interesting.
That's how they advertise. Maybe during the day. Maybe. I don't know, but there's sports at night.
Yeah.
And that was a fact. The point he made earlier about the sports bars, like they'll have like 30 TVs in there showing so much. It's like information overload, bro.
Yeah,
like, chill out,
bro. Yeah, and it, like there's something for every crowd. There could be soccer, college football, NFL, XFL. Like it's like basketball. Like there's so much going on.
And another thing I thought about, some of the pubs I went to in England had no music at all.
Really?
Like complete dead silence, so you can hear like eavesdrop, and it's more focused on like the conversation.
Huh.
And, yeah.
Interesting. That would low-key make me kind of self-conscious, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah.
If you can just like eavesdrop on other people.
Well, you just don't say anything crazy.
That's kind of hard to do though.
Yeah, it is.
When you're drunk. Or when you're pissed.
Hey, they understand that though.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we go to the pub to get absolutely rat-arsed or to have a casual drink. And so to some degree, it's going to vary from country to country as to what is on tap. There are some crossovers and I dare say some exceptions to what I'm about to say. But there are lots of differences in the beers that are served, and this can vary from pub to pub or even region to region. Any pub, British or American, worth their salt will feature a comprehensive list of local beers. Naturally, these are going to be different between Britain and America, but also between regions within each of those countries. But then you get down to the big names too. In Britain, you're far more likely to be ordering the Australian beer Foster's than you are Samuel Adams.
That's a fact.
If that's not your bag, there's always Carlsberg or Carling. In America, Budweiser or Miller Lite. And if you want one that unites the two countries, you could go for the Belgian beer Stella Artois, which in Britain is trashy and in the US it's classy. And then, of course, there's the pint size itself. Let me go back in time and hand you over to Lawrence from a few months ago. Great Britain might be unfairly known for its warm beer, but at least you get more bang for your buck, or should I say quid. You see, a British pint is larger than its American counterpart. To some, that might sound like something that I cooked up after, 4 pints of Stella, especially since each country defines a pint as 1/8 of a gallon. But here's the catch. Gallons are different too. In the US, a gallon is equal to 3.79 litres. In Britain, it's equal to 4.55 litres. So 1/8 of a US gallon gives you a pint of 473 millilitres. So a good old British pint clocks in at 568.
That's so weird.
And this is...
Hey, that's how... Hold on.
3 millilitres. So a good old...
That's how you know. They got these little curved, this rounded... That's how you know it's British.
To fit the extra...
Every pub has that.
Wow.
But...
That's so. Why are the standards different for measuring? That's so strange.
Because their livers are built differently. They need that extra. What is that? 95 milliliters. Hey, that adds up. You have 5 pints. That's damn near another pint there.
Yeah.
Well, an American pint it is. It's more than an American pint.
Yeah, you get a lot more bang for your buck.
Oh.
That's crazy. Damn.
Hey.
Drinking just seems a lot better over there.
It is, bro. Everything about it's better.
British pint clocks in at 568. And this is great news for American beer fans in Britain because it means that 6 American pints are equal to 5 British ones. You'll be slaughtered before the pub quiz starts. Aside from the fact that you now have a particular song stuck in your head, you're probably asking the question, what's the difference between British and American closing times? You see, in Britain, right up until about 2005, it was mandated that pubs had to close at 11 p.m. On the one hand, you could get around this by starting your drinking session earlier, say at 7 o'clock in the morning. On the other, given the time difference, you couldn't stay around long enough to watch wrestling pay-per-views. But then in 2005, a law was passed that said that pubs could stay open 24 hours so long as they had a specific license. But by all accounts, it looks like most British pubs haven't applied for this license because they still shut at 11 p.m. In the US, this varies by state, but there's not a single one in the union that mandates that pubs close as early as that. In fact, 27 states in the union permit their pubs to stay open until 2 a.m. And it's usually at that time, after tequila, that my voice really does sound like that. Now, there are some notable exceptions to this rule. Alaska and Hawaii are to drinking times what Puerto Rico and the US Virgin Islands are to the legal drinking age. In other words, they're so far away from the mainland they can sort of get away with it. What can they get away with? Staying open until 4 and 5 a.m. There are state and local exceptions to those rules just in case you were thinking of moving to either of those states. That's closing time on this episode. Let me know in the comments below your experiences of pubs in either country. Don't forget to follow...
All right, I wanted to make a comment on the closing times. So that may be accurate for pubs closing at 11, but the nightclubs definitely don't close at 11.
No, I'd say
in Britain.
2. Oh.
Yeah, no. Yeah, here it's 2.
Yeah.
Which I hate that. But in Britain, I think it can go a bit later. I feel like I remember staying in one till like 3.
Really?
Yeah.
So do people go like from like pubs to nightclubs? Is that like a thing? Yeah. That's a thing.
Hell
yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
You start the day out. Hit a couple pubs up, chill. Maybe hit up a cocktail bar, and then move on to the clubs once it gets a little later.
That sounds pretty
10,
fire.
11 p.m. and then good night.
Holy.
But what'd you think about this?
I like this guy.
Yeah,
the way he talks is like, I don't know, it's pretty funny. Like it's entertaining.
It's that British humor, that sarcasm and dry humor. I like him a lot. He's really witty.
Yeah, definitely.
big fan of his channel, but there was definitely a lot in this video, way more than I thought to unpack.
Yeah.
Some big differences.
Yeah. The gallon one is still kind of blowing my mind.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy.
There's another video we could react to about like the metric system. In the U.S. we use the imperial system, and
Which is like super rare, right? Across like worldwide, like not.
And there's been so many like miscalculations as a result that have led to like billions in losses of money.
Seriously?
Yeah.
What?
It's insane. Like with rocket ships and stuff.
Wow. I never even thought about the impact it could have on
Yeah.
things like that.
It pisses me off too, like with certain things. I wish we could all just have like one currency.
Right.
Because whenever I make an international transaction, you know, there's so many fees they throw on it. But like,
exactly.
imagine if we just had one currency, like Earth points.
Earth money. That's lucky a hard name.
I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon.
No.
Humans are too.
Yeah, people need their cliques, their individuality and everything.
I get it because there's differences in regions, but it would be way more convenient.
Yeah, 100%. And that's like. There's like a whole market for that, like foreign exchange dollars and stuff, and the price, like things like appreciate, like relative to other prices and everything. So that would be kind of hard to just disseminate all that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right word, but yeah.
But yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed this one. I think the conclusion is Britain is the place to go if you want to get pissed.
Yeah,
we know that.
That's what it looks like. Yeah.
American bars and stuff. You know, it's all right, but. Like after being in Britain, it's like I can't really remove that from my mind. It's like, yeah, this isn't as good. You know, we definitely have our places and stuff, and you can still have a great time. But
yeah,
there's nothing like being in the old blighty.
Yeah,
Britain.
it seems like another level, honestly.
Yeah, it is. So, thanks for watching, guys. Hit that like button, hit subscribe, and we'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.